up guys, how's it going? Something that I wanted to talk about this week is something that has been with me my whole teaching career and my whole playing career in fact, and it's now even more prominent as I venture into the teaching world more professionally and have more students and reach more students, is the idea of keeping students and your children, my students and your kids, infused and wanting to practice every week, building up regular habits with it, getting it consistent, and ultimately seeing better results from playing the drums from your lessons. So I want to take this right back to my beginnings, or the beginnings of my drumming journey, and some stories that I was told and kind of led to believe that now I actually am not entirely sure if they're completely true and or the best way to go about the world of practice or the idea of practice. So something that I was taught when I was at college was that practice needs to be long. You need to be spending like hours and hours in the practice room. It should sound good. We should be able to play everything super fast, and we should be practicing all areas of our playing every single time we go into the practice room. So those are some common misbeliefs, or certainly for myself, and I'm sure there's other drummers and tutors out there who maybe that resonates for as well. And they're dangerous, if I'm honest. I think they're quite dangerous thought patterns and beliefs to impose on young musicians. There's some elements of truth in it. I'm not saying that doesn't work or that's not necessary in order to achieve a certain goal on an instrument, but it can, certainly in the early days, can be quite detrimental to the learning and the love. We're going to talk more about this in a minute, but the love of playing an instrument. Now I'm a little bit older and a little bit more experienced and have taught for a lot more years. I have learned that drilling, like running drills of rudiments, or or like exercises and technique exercises over and over and over and over again, is one area that does achieve results. I'm not saying that it doesn't. However, with a 8, 9, 10 or a beginner of any age, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. All it does is bring up the boring factor and bring down the fun factor. It's tedious. It's hard. It's really, really hard to learn a brand new technique in the best of times. And if we've got no context to put that in, I'm not going to say it's impossible, because it's not impossible, but it's really, really tricky. Now, this is even more heightened with a young student, with someone, and really a kid, anyone who wouldn't consider an adult, under 18, under 20. It's really, really difficult to get those messages into them. So how can we go about changing this? How can we get them enthused, and how can we get them excited and wanting to play the drums? The first and ultimate thing for me, first and foremost thing for me, is getting the student to just love playing the drums. Fall in love with playing the drums first and foremost. It's the best way to ensure that this person, this student, is going to be on those drums pretty much every day. In the beginning, experimenting, exploring, taking stuff apart, tuning differently, just trying stuff. Play is the word. We are playing the instrument, and that is, for me, hugely important in the early stages. I remember so well being young and getting my first drums, and even just loving the smell of it and how they looked, and they were old and probably not even that good, but I just loved it, and figuring out how all the little bits worked and how the sound would change if I changed one thing or I moved something about. And man, those times were so beautiful, and I remember them so well, and I want to try and impart that, or give the opportunity of those times to my students. It's a golden time that you're only going to get once, and if it's filled with this pressure of needing to be something or be at a certain level in a certain amount of time, it's just not the same thing. And I think it's super important to nurture that and make sure that each beginner of any age gets that time, gets the opportunity to fall in love with the instrument, and gets the chance to learn about it through expression and through creativity and through just trying stuff and learning different bits and bobs. And what a beautiful gift to give a young person, man. Like, to give them the chance and that opportunity to truly create and express in that environment is completely priceless. So I urge you, tutors, myself, I'm talking to myself as well, and parents, let that happen. Give that to those young players, and you know, I'm sure the rewards will be massive for them and for you. You know, it's a pretty rewarding thing teaching anyway, but setting that environment up for people to learn in is really, really cool. So aside from having all of the sort of the free running, the free floating, like creativity going on in the practice room, there's also some things we can put in place to start to build more of a framework around it, so it's not just completely random. Using a practice diary. I feel like a bit of a broken record with that one, but I say it all the time. Log your practice, even if it is just playing. Something that I've started doing with my students this year is breaking their practice into small, manageable chunks. I'm not just saying to them, I'd like you to practice for 2 hours this week and leave it up to them how they break that down. I want to try and help them and make it a little bit more manageable for them. So I'm asking my students to do 3 20-minute sessions, or you know, 5 10-minute sessions, or whatever it is, however it works out over the week. If they want to practice for more than that, then that's great. I'm not going to stop that, of course not. But what I ask of them for the practice that I require or would like them to do, I break it down into chunks. With the real beginners, we're starting with 2 10-minute sessions. That's it. And the reason that I'm doing this, the reason I'm putting it into chunks like this, is it A, makes it not overwhelming or daunting. B, starts to build up the habit of practicing regularly. And C, starts to make them feel better about what they're doing. And it can just feel really overwhelming trying to cram in so many different things and so many different ideas into that time. If it's broken down into small, manageable chunks, I'm starting to see results in my students that it makes it so much more beneficial to them, and they want to do it. They want to go into the practice room because they know they don't have to sit there for hours and hours. The reality of teaching young people an instrument is that some days they're just not going to want to do it, and that's not even exclusive to young people. Some days I don't want to come and practice. That's just life. That's just what happens. We can't always be on it 100% all the time. It just doesn't work like that. So trying to work with that instead of against it is something that I think is really, really crucial for the progression of the student. For the parents out there watching this, this is where you come in as well, guys. It's really important that you're engaged with their practice. Most of the time it's a mix when a new student comes between the student wanting to learn and the parent being keen for their child to learn an instrument. And this is great, this is amazing. The more musicians we have in the world, the better. Never a bad thing. Something that I think would really help your child is if you're engaged with that practice as well. Learn with them, at least in the early years, so that when they have a question they can ask. Something that happens quite a lot is students will be great in here, we're learning, everything's going well. When they get home in a completely different environment on drums that aren't the same as mine, the whole thing starts to fall apart a little bit, and especially if there's no one there to give any guidance at all. And most of the stuff that we're learning in those early years, parents, you're going to be able to pick it up pretty quickly as well. So try, if you can, get engaged. Sit in the lesson with your child. I'm sure most tutors will allow that. It's never really an issue. I don't see why they wouldn't. Sit in, listen, take on board what's happening. When your little one has a question for you, you can answer, you can help. Make it fun for them as well. Stick some tunes on, rock out in the house. When you're listening to music, say to them, can you hear what's going on here? What's the drums doing in this song, or you know, the guitar, whatever you're learning. Get involved with it. Don't sit on the sideline. Jump in, make it fun. You will definitely learn something too. I hope this video was beneficial to you guys. Just some things that are coming up for me, and I want to share this and get the conversation going. I have so many parents asking me questions, so many students asking me questions, and let's get that conversation started. The more we're sharing, the more we're talking, the more fun our kids are going to have, or the drummers are going to have, and the more we're going to learn, both me and the student and the parent as well. Hope you have a wicked week, guys. I'll catch you next time. Peace.